Hi there, I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. If you're feeling drained, hesitant, stuck in self-doubt, or you just have a case of the vlogs, the Art of Badassery podcast is here to help you unleash your mojo once and for all. We'll provide you with tips, techniques, and real-life examples of how you can kick ass in all areas of your life. You'll learn how to flex your mental muscles, rise above fears, and turn setbacks into superpowers. So let's enter the dojo and let's get to work. Welcome everyone to the Art of Badassery podcast. I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer, and today I have a really special and intriguing guest, and her name is Lindsay O'Neill. Lindsay is a native New Yorker, a single mom of 3, my goodness, TEDx speaker, a certified culinary medicine chef, a public health wellness coach, and she has a career as an AI technologist. Can't wait to hear more about that. Lindsay is the CEO of Hinges.health and CEO and co-founder of Wellness Eternal. Wow, Lindsay, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Jen. So great to see you.
I'm so happy you're here. And folks, I always love to share just how I know these amazing Black belts in badassery that come on the podcast. Lindsay and I met about 20 years ago through a program called Ladies Who Launch back in New York City. Now, I feel like Ladies Who Launch was really before its time. It was a group, a cohort that started back then to help women like us launch our entrepreneurial journeys, our businesses, way before social media even existed. Can you imagine that?
True story. That's crazy.
It's a true story. I remember Marie Forleo hawking her first book next to me at one of the fairs we had. And Lindsay, you told me Gabby Bernstein was in it too.
Yep, she was. I met Gabby and Marie at the same time. It was wild, and I had no idea.
Right. Well,
who they were going to become. Yeah.
Who they would become. Exactly. Exactly. It's so wild. Anyway, Lindsay reached out to me recently to reconnect, and I'm so happy she did because just like the last episode that I had, kind of like these themes that are in my life right now, one is biohacking. And Lindsay and her partner that you'll hear about own a biohacking showroom in Westchester, New York, in Valhalla, right? Which is close to where I grew up. So I'm coming out there in September. And all of that to say that Lindsay's Wellness Eternal is doing a pop-up, a biohacking pop-up at the Art of Badassery retreat in Montauk, New York, October 10th through the 13th. And as of now, which is a couple weeks before this podcast will actually air, as of now, there are still 3 rooms left, everyone. So it might be sold out by the time you're listening, but who knows? Reach out if you're interested, because I can't wait to share what that means, what we're going to talk about today on today's episode. So Lindsay, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for reaching back out. I love reconnecting with badass women. Before we kind of dive into your story, because it is so fascinating to me, what I found when I was kind of reaching out to my folks who are either coming to the retreat already or thinking about it, I said, hey, we're going to have this biohacking pop-up. And to my surprise, so many people said, Jen, I had to Google what biohacking was. So Lindsay, can you, now that you're the expert, can you share with us what that means?
So I actually had to Google it too, just about a little over a year ago. I had no idea what that meant. And hacking has such a bad connotation in the world right now. Like, you don't want to get hacked.
Right. Oh my God, my mother just said the same thing to me when I was trying to explain it.
Yeah, like it sounds terrible to get hacked. You don't want your body to get hacked, but I guess the word hack really means to find a way around the real painful, arduous, like time-consuming, costly processes of getting better. And biohacking really just means like hacking your biology. So how do you use your bio-individual needs to to create a plan, whether that's a food plan or a technology plan or an exercise plan or a lifestyle plan, to hack your health so that you can live better longer. And there's so much new stuff in the world around longevity.
Yeah.
Longevity is really the word.
Mm.
Biohacking is just what Dave Asprey named it.
Okay,
Because,
he came up with that term. That's interesting. Everyone,
yeah,
Dave Asbury,
Asprey, yeah.
he his brand, well, actually I heard he sold it, was bulletproof. So that's kind of the collagen powder that I use in my shakes every day. But he's out on the all the biohacking stages talking about longevity.
Yeah, he has Danger Coffee now. He has a bunch of new brands, Wasabi Method, which is really cool. Everybody should check that out. And then he has Upgrade Labs, which is like a wellness center franchise all around the country.
Right.
So Dave's doing a lot of stuff. And actually, how I got into biohacking was somehow, some way, Source Energy God got me to the biohacking conference, which is
Hmm.
Dave Asprey's biohacking conference last year in 2023. And I'll tell you the quick story of how I got there, but my eyes and I mean, I was just blown away by how many cool technologies and sustainable products and bioenergetics and even like food as medicine and nootropics and IVs. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to biohack yourself. So
Mm.
the quick story is I spent when I first met you, I was working in tech. It was probably 2004, 2005. And I had worked in tech actually since 2001, right after 9/11. And I grew up in New York City, as you said in the intro. I've lived in New York basically my whole life.
Mhm.
And I I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to do something my own. So that's why I went to Ladies Who Launch and I launched the Fem Network, which was the first only online social network for professional women. It was
Oh,
before
cool.
LinkedIn, it was before Facebook, it was before
Yeah.
I
And hang
know.
on a second though, just to rewind. So, because 20 years ago for me, I know how old I was. I was still so young, 27, and I know you're younger than me. So
I,
you were like a we were babies, but you were really a baby then, right? Launching your own business.
I got into tech when I was 20.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the end of 2001. So I was born in 1981 and I got into the tech industry in 2001 when I was
Amazing.
20 years old. So
Okay.
I'm 42 now. I'll be 43 in September. And so I worked in tech for a very long time. And I still consider myself a technologist, a marketer, a media person by trade. But by passion, health is my passion. And it wasn't my passion when I first met you. I love to exercise, but I ate anything I wanted. I've always looked like this. I've been a tiny human. I've never been able to gain weight. Everybody hates me, but I was a mess inside. I could eat whatever I wanted, but it really did a number on me. And so I got married right after I started my business and it took off. I was a Crane's top entrepreneur. I have the sign up there. I was in Forbes. I was in New York Times. I was on TV. Like it was a great year, 2007. I got married and then the whole market crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these women that I was helping, like,
2009, right?
right, 2009, a couple years later, um, they were looking for something else to do. And so they didn't want to incubate their own businesses. I had started the Fem Network to help them connect and start their own businesses. And I had 5,000 women across the country in
Wow.
my database. It was a great company. It was just too early. It was before the Me Too movement. It was before like, women's everything. Um, and honestly, I was like, I'm just going to go back to work. So I went back to work and I had my first daughter in 2010. And then I had my second daughter in 2012. And right after I had Shay, my second daughter, I had to go right back to work because the company I was running a division for, this tech company, was about to go public. And they ended up going public when Shay was 9 months old and Avery was almost two, or almost three. And I made a lot of money. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna do something that I'm more passionate about. So I started teaching kids how to cook because I'm
Mhm.
Sicilian from New York and I love to cook and I just think and I was like a latchkey kid growing up in New York City. My parents were divorced and so I always had to like make pancakes or craft mac and cheese or stuff for my me and my sister to eat after school.
Yep.
I was never really like a true culinary chef, but I just love to eat and I love to cook. So I thought, I should teach them kids. So I started my first blog, which was called Cooking with Kitties. Everybody thought I was cooking with cats. It was a terrible name. They're like, cooking with kitties, you're cooking with cats is disgusting.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And so I thought, okay, well, that's not a good name. And then I turned it into Mama O'Neill. I actually had a dinner with Bobby Brown, the makeup. Uh,
Okay, I was like Bobby Brown the singer, Bobby Brown.
and um, and I'd already rebranded. I just rebranded to Mama O'Neill. And she said, Mama O'Neill sounds like a 400-pound old lady with a hair coming out of her chin. Not a good,
Thank you, Bobby.
not a good brand name. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I don't want to call it Lindsay O'Neill because then people spell it wrong. They always spell my name like my first name wrong and my last name wrong, and then there's the apostrophe. It's just too complicated. So I read a quote that said, "You don't have to change everything to change everything. Small hinges swing the big door of positive change."
Ooh, I like that.
So I called my company Small Hinges. And
Ooh.
that's why it's called smallhinges.health because you really don't have to change everything. And I always use data in tech to optimize ad campaigns. So I thought, well, why can't I just use data to optimize health, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by this point in time, I already had two kids and I was pregnant with my third.
Right.
And um, I had just kind of come up with the whole small hinges concept and I got hit by a car,
Mm.
7 months pregnant. I thought I was like at the top of my career. I'd made some investments in some tech companies and the company I had just worked for went public
Wow.
and all of a sudden I'm on bed rest. I'm working like five
Hold on,
different
hold on,
jobs.
hold on. Was it you got hit by a car while walking or were you in a vehicle?
Had just put my 3-year-old in her car seat and I was standing outside the car with my 7 month pregnant belly inside the car.
Uh-huh.
And the woman parked next to me, backed up into the door. The door slammed onto my shoulder and she kept going. And I'm
Oh.
like, she's going to break me in half if she doesn't stop. So I went like this and
Hmm.
hit the back of her car to get her to stop. And by doing that, when you're pregnant, you have relaxin in your body. I pulled like all of these muscles and I was in
Hmm.
so much pain. I like popped my hip out.
Hmm.
Um,
Ouch.
and yeah. And so I literally physically got like hit by the door, hit by the car. And I didn't really know I was hurt for the first few hours because all of I was so angry with her. Like my inner Sicilian came out. I was like, pull up your car, get out of the way. I'm
Yeah,
pinned in the car. But I was just so thankful that my daughter wasn't standing there and she didn't get like,
of course.
decapitated in the car door. And it was a wild weekend. It happened on a Friday. I was picking my kids up from camp, and then by Sunday night, I was in full labor because all
Wow.
of the pain was just intense. So I drove home, and they were like, "You're in labor. We got to stop the contractions. You need to go on bed rest." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, right. Okay. There's no way. I'm like slowing down." Um,
Right.
I'm like, my kids are going to pre-K. Like I've got to, take take them to school. Like there's no chance I'm slowing down. So they gave me a drug that was supposed to be class A, okay for pregnant ladies. And it turned out it was not safe in pregnancy. So
Did you
we
say
learned
what the drug was?
nifedipine. So it's actually a a blood pressure medication.
Hmm.
And what it ended up doing, which we found out a few years later, is it caused my daughter to be born with low muscle tone.
Because it like relaxed. Oh,
I
okay.
don't actually
I don't know
know
how that works.
the science behind it,
Yeah.
but I know a few other women who've taken it during pregnancy because it was pretty much overprescribed. I had low blood pressure to begin with, Jen. So when I was on bed rest, I like couldn't even get out of bed when I took nifedipine.
Yeah.
I would pass out in the bathroom. It was not a great
Yeah.
experience, but it allowed me to get to full term
Okay.
with my daughter. And she was born at a healthy 9 pounds, 1 ounce,
Amazing.
a whole week early.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, she's healthy. I'm healthy. Everything's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Right.
Amazing. Yeah.
And you know how some people tell you, like after a trauma, whether it's emotional or physical, about 6 months later, stuff starts to happen. Like your hair like 6 months to a year later, your
Mm,
hair like start to fall out, or maybe you'll start to get like some funky things happening in your body.
mm,
Well, about a year later, I started to like seriously fall apart. Towards the end of 2015, early 2016. And then a year after that, I like fully fell apart. I just ignored it. I just kept
mhm.
ignoring,
Well, don't so many people do that. I mean, we barely listen to our body as it is. And then you have these signs, you have these little moles or markings or pains or aches, and we just keep going, keep going, keep going. So of course it makes sense.
and it wasn't that bad. And you think to yourself like, oh, I'm just getting older.
Mm,
Oh, I've got 3 kids. I'm working a lot. Like you
right.
know, this is hectic. I've got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. And then I
Hmm.
have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I'm like, this is nuts, and I was consulting in tech and on
And when you
advisory.
say you were falling apart, what does that mean? What does that look like?
So I was having massive digestive issues at
Hmm.
first. My hair was starting to get really thin, and I just thought it was the hormones,
Hmm.
like postpartum hormones. I
Right.
was having panic attacks at night. My
Mm.
skin was breaking out.
Mm.
Um, just like weird things. And so I kept going to my doctor, and my doctor's like, "You're fine.
Mhm.
Your cholesterol might be a little bit high. Maybe you should eat more fiber." I was like, "Okay, I can eat more fiber. I love food." So, and I was still teaching the cooking classes, and I was still, working on small whatever Mama O'Neill and then small hinges looked like. And honestly, I just was so busy
Mhm.
that I, at night, it's when I felt the worst.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so in 2017, another kind of like traumatic thing ish. I mean, it was very traumatic for me. It was more traumatic for my friend, but my best friend's child passed away
Mm.
at almost 2 years old.
I'm so
And
sorry.
and I grew up with my best friend. We've known each other since I can remember, since we were like one.
Mhm.
And that and then another like traumatic physical thing happened, and I couldn't get out of bed. I had a fever for 10 weeks. Like chunks of my hair fell out, like
Wow.
huge chunks of my hair. I actually went and got my hair done today. I got it cut for the first time in like months. And the hairdresser was like, "Remember when you had that big hole in your head?" Like, yeah, I
Wow.
remember. And then when it grew back, it was like sticking straight out of the back of my head. But the pain, I had this crushing pain. I couldn't move my wrists. My chest was constantly in pain. And so they thought that I was having like heart problems. And my grandmother had a hole in her heart. So they did all sorts of diagnostics, to do that. But once I started to change my diet and my lifestyle, like making these small changes, honestly, I started to feel so much better.
Oh,
But
good.
it wasn't until I met this doctor, Dr. Wachowski, who put me on this crazy cleanse. And it was really, really hard to do, but I did it. I got through it. 6 months later, all of my symptoms were gone because the doctors told me that I
Wow.
had massive autoimmune condition.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh, I felt so good. I was like patting myself on the back, and I'm like, all right, well, that was good. And then my daughter started to get sick. And
Okay.
so that's where the low muscle tone came into play. Because she wasn't
Oh,
digesting her food, she kept getting chronic urinary tract infections. So from the time
wow.
she was 3.5 until she was 4, she had 17 UTIs. I don't know
Oof.
if have you ever had a UTI?
I haven't, luckily, but I'm sure they're awful.
I haven't either. And but whenever I tell someone who has chronic urinary tract infections, they're like, oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah.
So we did everything for her too. And I found this amazing test, which I do on Small Hinges, which is a food inflammation test, which takes all of the guesswork out of a food elimination diet. It's just a simple finger prick. I did it on her, and I removed like chicken and eggs and strawberries and broccoli and some other things that were inflaming her, like
Okay.
healthy, normal healthy foods.
Yeah. Healthy foods.
Right, healthy foods, right?
Mhm.
But she wasn't eating crap. We were trying
Right.
to keep all of the crap out of her diet, which is hard for a toddler. But we were trying other things. And then the pandemic happened when she was 5, and we were stuck at home. And it was good because I could cook all of her food for her, but it was bad because we couldn't go to Yale Pediatrics and do biofeedback, which seemed to be like the only thing that really worked. So
Biofeedback with the
biofeedback.
name.
So
Real, like in 2 sentences, can you just say what that is?
So biofeedback is any sort of like feedback into a machine that helps to reprogram your muscles. So
Mm-hmm.
they would put leads all over her belly and her bunda, and she would basically control a video game with her stomach and her bladder muscles, like
Oh,
her in
wow.
to strengthen her bladder muscles, because all of her muscles did not have tone, not just her
Uh-huh.
hands and her
Uh-huh.
feet, her legs, but also like her bladder. So
Yeah.
she wasn't fully voiding all of the urine, which is why it was getting infected.
Ah, that makes
So
sense.
so
Okay.
fast forward, we're like trying to find other things. So, maybe we try Reiki. So we tried Reiki, and it was working. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Reiki, energy healing. And then we were trying like breath work with her when she turned 7. And then she turned 8, and she was almost there. And then
Mhm.
she had a really bad UTI in the beginning of last year, like really, really bad one right after Christmas in the beginning of last year. She's 8 years old. And I was just devastated. And I went to a Tony Robbins Business Mastery, and I met
Mm.
this guy who told me, you have to look up this company, Immortal. So I
Mhm.
looked it up. They have this crazy bed. If you go to ammortal.com, you'll see it's like this crazy med bed that has pulse electromagnetic frequency, vibroacoustic pulse, near and infrared light, a cannula with molecular hydrogen, guided meditation, breath work, and a sound bath, all in one bed.
Okay, which is all biohacking technology.
It's all biohacking stuff,
Here
which
we
is
go. We're coming
good
back to
to know. We're coming back full circle.
it.
So they have this bed, this $150,000 bed in an Airstream, in a 31-foot Airstream, and they drive it all around the country. They
Wow.
drive it to professional sports teams. They drive it to wellness conferences. They bring it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They had it in Miami when I was going down to Florida to visit my parents, and they drove it to my friend's driveway, the
Okay.
founder. I like basically threw my daughter into it. 30-minute session later, she comes out, and the first thing she says to me is, Mommy, I realized I'm not supposed to be the sick kid anymore. I'm
Wow.
supposed to be the healer.
Oh
And
my,
she detached from being the sick kid. She goes, it's no longer serving me. She goes, it served me. She's 8. She's
wow.
like, it served me because I got out of school early. I got to spend more time with you. I got presents, got ice cream sometimes. And I realize now I want to get Reiki certified. I want to help other children and animals, because she loves animals,
Oh,
um, to heal.
wow.
Brought her to Yale the next week. They did a Euroflow analysis, which is they put leads all over her, and then they measure her muscle function, like her digestive and her bladder function. And for the first time in 5 years since we had been going to Yale Pediatrics, all of her muscles started functioning properly.
Oh my
One
God.
30-minute session. So I was like, what is
What?
this biohacking stuff?
Yeah.
So I didn't even actually know the word biohacking then. I called up the guys from Immortal. I'm like, you healed my kid. What
Wow.
can I do for you? And they're like, well, we need help with this big conference that's coming up, the biohacking conference in Orlando. And I used to run events back when I,
Mhm.
knew you, and like a million years ago. And I could help them with marketing and like setting up their CRM and like lead capture and follow up and all that stuff. So I had like 11 days, and we put together a huge display for them. We brought the Airstream down there. We had an amazing conference, and we sold like 12 of these chambers. It was awesome.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
it was so great. But then I met my business partner, this tall redhead comes walking
Yeah.
over to me and she's like, "Hi, I'm Yelly." And she's a redheaded, fair-skinned Latina.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell immediately she was Latin. And everybody knows her because she's this tall drink of water, beautiful redhead.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "You need to get away from this booth. You've been here for 2 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
Come to this party with me." Everybody knew her. She's like, "Have you even walked the show floor yet?" I'm like, "I haven't." I'm like, "Want to take me on a tour?" So she took me
Wow.
on a tour and she introduced me to like Leela Quantum and to, Brain Tap and to all of these companies. There's so many companies. And I said, "Yelly, how are these people marketing themselves? Like these are all genius scientists and
Right.
doctors, engineers, and how are they marketing themselves? Doctors and scientists typically are not marketers
Right. Or business people.
or business people." And she
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, that's what I do. I help them integrate their technology into wellness centers, into spas, into like medical practices." And I said, "Well, that's
So
really cool.
smart.
Maybe I can help you with like the marketing side."
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like the first iteration of wellness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so many things I want to point out
Oh,
there in this story. But
this is my
what,
hydration water, by the way. So now I'm a full biohacker, which
yeah.
from a year ago, I had no idea what biohacking even meant. And now I'm
Now
like,
you're a business owner and full-on biohacker. I love it. But first of all, just the power of being in circles, putting yourself in places that have like-minded people and people that are seekers, right? So going to that Tony Robbins Business Mastery seminar was one of those first steps that
yeah,
led you on this path. And I really just want to point that out because I know that happens to me. I know that just happened to me at the Dr. Joe Dispenza event where all of a sudden, I mean, sure, it could be coincidence that Lindsay happened to reach out then, but also I sit next to a woman named Jenny who I shared in my last podcast, works for a biohacking technology called the biocharger.
yeah,
And within, we became friends at the conference. The next thing you know, she's in LA. I go try out the biocharger. Lindsay and Yelly are coming to Montauk to do this pop-up at my retreat. So you just keep following the breadcrumbs sometimes in life. So the first step before you can follow the breadcrumbs though is being open and putting yourself in those situations. So I really just want to like nail that home because so many of us are like, oh my God, I have this huge challenge. I don't know what to do. And either you just talk to the people in your life about it, or you just do the conventional thing, which is go to the doctors. And no shade on doctors, my sister's one, and they are all doing their best. But sometimes the answers don't lie in conventional medicine. Sometimes the answers don't lie in the conventional paths that we're taught to seek out. So being open and this is just a crazy story that this all unfolded in 1 year. And your daughter is like healed and healing still. I'm sure it's a journey.
yeah. Oh, she just made a video last night, a 3-minute video outlining her new business plan. So she's combining breath work with Reiki with art
Oh
for
my.
transformation. So like you're drawing your feelings, you're drawing what's coming up, and then you're releasing it. I mean,
At
she's
9 years old now.
fine, yeah.
Okay, so one day we're gonna have your daughter on, and she's gonna have to
Yep.
give us all a lesson in this. My goodness.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I want to tell you because Yelly always says this, my business partner always says there's no coincidences.
of
There's
course.
only co-created incidents. That's
Mm,
it. Co-created incidents. And you nailed it. I was not open. When I was going through my own health struggle, the main thing I want to tell people today, like, don't wait.
mm,
Stop living in the pain. You don't have to. You
mm.
don't have to. And the cool thing about what Yelly and I are doing is we have two business models. The first one is we're doing that integration. We have that show place so that wellness center owners and spa owners and doctors can actually come in and try these solutions for their practice because we want to help one to one to many because we
Yes.
know every wellness coach or even esthetician that we help with clean products, or
Mhm.
even a regular person like you and I who want to come in and biohack their homes,
Yeah.
right? We've got sustainable furniture, we've got EMF protection. People are like, what's EMFs? I'm like, it's all the stuff we're getting from our, from our
Um,
phone, from our, from everything around us, the cell towers.
Wi-Fi. Yes, all of
It,
it.
it's crazy
It's
how much
all around us and we don't even realize it because we can't see it.
we don't. And, everybody's like trying to drink hydrogen water now, but do you drink hydrogen water with frequencies that are put into the water? This has 3 different frequencies that you can put into your water.
Most
Energy,
people won't be able to see that, so you have
that's
to
okay.
say what it is.
Yeah, so it has energy, recovery, and Lumavite. It's a Lumavite water bottle, which is like the
Okay.
light of life. And
Okay.
then,
So to be clear, because in my head already,
yeah,
and this is one of my limiting beliefs, is like, oh, well, this stuff is all great, but it comes at a high price tag, right? Especially like, for example, the biocharger that I tried out, that's a $17,000 piece of machinery. Like,
yeah.
it's crazy. So the average person, that is not accessible unless you can afford to go to these wellness centers. And by the way, I just visited one here in Santa Monica and she told me it was a $3,000 a month membership. I'm like, that is not for the average person. So, but your approach to biohacking, you seem to have things that are more accessible. So, can you just share like a couple little of those things that the average person can just upgrade their life and their well-being with?
And by the time this is released, we will have the directory launched. So you can go to
Okay.
biohacking.directory. And we'll have hundreds. We're going to be loading it when this first launches, but stay tuned because we're going to put every single wellness solution, everything from that $17,000 biohacking solution, all the way down to like a quantum energy healing necklace. This is,
Okay.
I'm wearing a necklace right now that everybody thinks is like a dead relative inside, but it's got quantum energy healing balls. If you can watch this, I'll show you. But um, the main thing I think we all could do,
Mm.
breathing better,
Mm-hmm.
eating better,
Right.
eat for your biology. Go to smallhinges.health. There's lots of recipes there, but you can also order the test, which is not that expensive. You do it once a year, if at most.
Mm-hmm.
There's like frequency healing drops um,
Mm-hmm.
that could replace pharmaceuticals. But I want to give you a quick statistic. So how much do you think I spent on mine and my daughter's illness over 5 years?
On all the other stuff leading up to before getting in that immortal chamber,
Correct.
probably a lot, probably thousands and thousands. I don't know, $30,000?
Probably you nailed it. It was probably like around 25,
Yeah.
$30,000.
Yeah, I can see that. And
And
that
it,
shouldn't be, that shouldn't be,
and we have insurance.
right?
We have insurance.
Oh, I know. Look, my hip replacement, you think, oh, I have insurance, but I still had to pay $5,000 on top of my insurance. Like nothing is just covered. It's
No,
crazy.
I was hospitalized 3 times
Hmm.
and she was in the hospital. She had multiple procedures done,
Yeah,
to try to diagnose what's going on with her. And then she did biofeedback like twice a week to begin with, and that's $65 copay for
right,
a specialist.
right,
It's just, and then the medication, and then all like just so
yeah,
many, and then seeing multiple doctors.
right.
So all right, so you're going to spend $25,000 over the course of 5 years to try to get yourself to a baseline, to
Hmm.
like the first floor of your health. Like we were in the sub basement. We were
Right.
like basically in purgatory in hell, both of us.
Hmm.
And now I've spent $25,000 just to get myself to the lobby of
Right.
the building in my health because I waited too long
Mm.
to open myself up to the possibility of divine healing, and also to just have the faith that I needed to actually heal myself and my daughter.
Right.
Um, all of the things, there's so many things that are out there. Grounding is super important. So if
Mm.
you can't get outside and get your feet in the earth and you can't get sunlight on your body for at least 20 minutes a day, get a grounding. Go to antiaging.wellnesseternal.com
Hmm.
and Get a grounding pillowcase. It's $200.
Mm-hmm.
On that every night. It neutralizes all the free radicals in your body so that while you're sleeping, your body can do what it's supposed to do while you're sleeping.
Right.
But we all go to sleep after like looking at our phones for
Mm,
17 hours in a day, and and then we can't sleep because there's blue light. Maybe pick
right.
up a pair of blue light blockers, you know,
Yes.
glasses that are $20,
Right.
on
Yes.
Amazon.
Great idea. Great
Yeah.
idea.
There's so many cheaper things, but like also just eating a little bit better, drinking more water, drinking clean water.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to spend a fortune on like those whole house filters. You can get
Oh,
the
I have a question for you.
Life Straw water filters are super cheap, and you just put them on your counter.
Do they get rid of fluoride?
I believe they do. You can literally like drink water out of a puddle.
Uh-huh.
It gets rid of everything.
It'll,
So
okay.
so fluoride.
I'm currently looking for something that gets rid of fluoride. And that's a
Well,
whole other discussion, but with the pineal gland and all the things I was learning through Dr. Joe. But yeah. Anyway, I love what you're saying because there are small ways that we can all upgrade our health. And the very first thing is water and food, right? Things that we have to do every single day.
food, sleep. That's
It's
it.
like,
And obviously, if you have toxins in your home or in your environment, we partnered with Got Mold because
okay.
they great, quick, cheap and easy test for mold in your house.
Oh, I wish
And
I knew that at my last place.
they have so many resources too of like what to do if you're renting, what to do if you own, what to do. I actually just took my daughter into the hospital last week because she had an asthma attack. We rented a house in the Hamptons for a month,
Hmm.
mold all over this house.
Yeah.
As soon as I walked in, I was like, oh my God, I feel it. My
Yep.
ex-husband who shared the house with me, like he felt it.
Hmm.
It was crazy. And she was wheezing so
I
bad.
think, yeah, I think I was living with mold in my last place for a long time. And I wish I had that test. So everyone got mold, especially if you live near the ocean, near a sea where it's damp, right?
Anywhere, I mean, even if you get like in apartment buildings, there's always water leaks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or if there's fires, like, the firemen come in and they spray water, like there's always a chance for mold to grow, like always. It's
Okay.
it's very pervasive and it doesn't just go away on its own. It has to be mitigated. There's a lot of great air filters that are out there too, but
Okay.
honestly, the air filters are also kind of expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you just know, like knowing is the first step, being open
Yeah.
and then being like a explorer in your own life. Um, Power of proximity, like going to the Joe Dispenzas, going to the Tony Robbins, even just there's free events to go to. There's lots of biohacking like centers all over the country. Just Google biohacking wellness meetups. Maybe there's a meetup somewhere near you.
Yeah.
Um, but it's all about like just taking that first step of being
Yep.
open and not doing too much, because if you go too far, like you
Mm-hmm.
can over biohack yourself for sure. Like you'll end up like a wet noodle.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I kind of felt that after 7 days of vibrating at such a high frequency after the Joe Dispenza event. But um, Lindsay, I just love this conversation so much, and I know that I'm going to continue and continue to learn from you. I can't wait to get out to Valhalla and visit your showroom in September, and then have you guys at the Montauk retreat, the Art of Badassery retreat, in October. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for educating us because I know I'm like beginner. I'm white belt level at biohacking and you guys are at black belt level. Which by the way, I forgot to share. Obviously, Lindsay is a black belt in badassery because she is now sharing her story for others, right? To help others rise, to help others heal, and to help others find solutions to their well-being issues. So thank you so much for doing that and being you. And with that, I have 4 quick rapid fire questions that I love to ask all my guests. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What was your favorite food as a child?
Kraft mac and cheese.
What, if you could have a drink with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and what's your drink?
I would probably have a drink with my grandfather, and he loved root beer floats, so we would have root beer floats.
Oh, that's so cute. What's your favorite personal growth book?
Well, you just interviewed Dr. Shafali, and her Radical Awakening book got me through my divorce. It was pure magic, but I love anything that she's written and also anything that Andy Andrews has written.
Oh, I don't know who that is. I'm gonna check him out. But
Oh, he's amazing.
okay. But
But yeah,
everyone, Dr. Shafali, seriously, that book, like,
Shafali,
it is a life changer. And last but not least, what is your favorite hype song?
my favorite hype song.
What gets you out of bed? Like, what gets you going?
Let's see. I wake my girls up with a different song each morning, so it's hard to choose. I would say it's Tiesto. What's the song by Tiesto? Oh, help me. Oh my gosh, there's such a good one. I
Is
gotta look it
that,
up.
and then did Justin Bieber do a remake of it or something?
Good. Oh man, what's the song? Anyway, I play everything from like "Wake Me Up Before You Go," "Keep Me Hanging On Like a Yo-Yo." Um,
Okay, your girls are lucky to have a mom like you. I love that so much. And also, I know you're lucky to have them. You're learning so much from them as well. But I'm lucky to have you as my new and old friend, reconnected, rekindled on this podcast. And can you tell everyone where we can find you?
sure. On Instagram, which is probably the best place. I mean, there's Facebook and LinkedIn. It's at Small Hinges and at Wellness Eternal.
Okay.
Um, you can also, if you want to email me, you can email me. Lindsay at smallhinges.health.
Look at there, folks. She gave you her email. So if you have questions on biohacking, make sure you reach out. And thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review, let us know how you liked it. And if you have questions, go to our Instagrams at Jenn Cassetta, or which is your favorite, at Small Hinges?
I mean, on biohacking, go to
Yeah,
at Wellness Eternal. You can
at
also
Wellness Eternal.
email Yelly and I. We at wellnesseternal.com.
Love it. And ask away.
Ask away.
That's all for now, folks. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and biohacking.
Woo! Thank you, Jen.